Hello, this is Mr. Mabry, and we are going to learn about Punnett squares today. Now, we've already learned a lot about genes and chromosomes. We've learned about when things go right and we get all 46 chromosomes we need for our cells. We've also learned about when things go wrong and we have one extra or one too few. Today, we're going to tackle the question, why do I look so beautiful? Where do those blue eyes come from? How come I look like my mom but not my dad? And that all has to do with Punnett squares. So, here we go. So get your notes out. If you're thinking to yourself, well, what am I supposed to be writing my notes on? There is a sheet in Desire to Learn that will give you the outline for what the notes will look like. You can either refer back to this sheet and draw the skeleton out, or you can just follow along with the notes video and just write down what I tell you to. You do not need to write down every single thing on this sheet, especially when we get to the word problems, but for these beginning parts, you do need to have these definitions. All right. So let's get rolling. First, let's talk about old dead people. There once was a guy named Gregory Mendel. He was a monk from this time period, which is pre-Civil War, so it's a long time ago, because he was so bored. I'm exaggerating a little, but let's pretend for a second. He's really bored. He said, hey, I love pea plants. I know they have 14 chromosomes because I'm really smart. Let's see what happens if we make pea plant babies. So he did. Don't write this stuff down, by the way. This is just a great story for why we have Punnett squares. So he took these pea plants and he did amazingly cruel things to them. He cut off the stamens of the plants who had pollen on them. He shoved them down the throats of other purple plants. Of other white plants. So see, here's the daddy, here's the mommy, and we wanted to see, hey, what color are those baby pea plants going to be? And to his utter shock, purple daddies and white mommies made purple babies. This is crazy. Usually we think purple and white makes lavender. No lavender babies here. We had purple babies. And then he said, hey, what if I took those purple babies and made more babies with the same babies? So we mixed these together. So we inbred the babies. And to his shock, 3 out of the 4 of the grandchildren were purple, but 1 was white. He thought, oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. How could this be? And he thought, what if I also checked out not just the color of flowers, but all these different things, some seeds and shapes and pods and stems and links and positions. And he spent a lot of days counting out pea plants. 6,021 yellow seeds, 6,022 yellow seeds. And what he came to find out is the basis for everything we know about genetics. He helped teach us how sometimes we are influenced just by the genes and chromosomes our mom gives us, and sometimes by the ones our dad gives us. And then sometimes one of them blocks out another. So everything we're getting ready to write down in our notes has to come from Mendel. And so we salute you, Gregory Mendel, old dead guy from Austria, for giving us everything we're getting ready to write down. Okay, I know you're itching, so let's start taking some notes. The camera's on. Okay, first some essential vocab. The first vocabulary word is heredity, which comes from the word inheritance, and it means the transmission of traits from one ancestor to another. Like that comic you saw at the beginning of the video. I inherited my great looks from you. Thanks, Mom and Dad. The next word is genotype, which means 2 alleles for a trait. And it is, and you're thinking, well, what's an allele? Well, allele is the next word. An allele is an option for a trait. So think here, if a trait is like hair color, then one option or one allele for hair color might be blonde hair. Another one might be red hair. Another allele might be brown hair. So a trait is a specific characteristic and an allele is an option for it. Now, when we talk about those options, there is something that Mendel came up with called dominant options or dominant alleles and recessive alleles. To go back to Mendel's story, he said, hey, purple ended up being a dominant option for flower color. It showed up a lot more. It seemed to like overpower that white color. And so he said purple is a dominant option, a dominant allele. And then white, which he abbreviated as a lowercase p to show that it wasn't as powerful as purple, is known as a recessive allele or recessive option to purple. This won't make complete sense now, but let's go ahead and get the vocab words down and it'll make more sense later. The next word is phenotype. A phenotype is the physical appearance for a trait. And in your notes, I would highly recommend underlining the word P and P to help you remember phenotype means physical. So these 2 words are closely connected to each other. Your phenotype always comes from your genotype. The next vocab word is homozygous. Homozygous means you are a purebred. So these are synonymous words right here. And you have two alleles that are identical. This is in contrast to heterozygous, or being hybrid, meaning you have two different alleles. So an example here is you can see having a big T and a big T means I have two identical alleles. I received a big T from mom and a big T from dad. Or two little t's. I received a little t from mom and a little t from dad. So let's predict what happens when I click forward for heterozygous. When I click forward, you're going to see a big T. Oh, screen just misses it. Big, there it is. Big T, little t. Or one being capital and one being lowercase. They are different alleles. Okay, so let's do an example. Let's pretend our trait is eye color, and our first option is brown eyes, capital B, and lowercase b for blue eyes. You already know from your definitions that a capital B means brown is going to be dominant to blue eyes. So let's talk now about what having a genotype of big B means. First, the vocabulary that we recorded tells us that this means we are homozygous dominant because they are both the same and because they both are the same for the capital letter. And phenotype means physical expression, so we can predict that if I'm homozygous dominant and big B means brown eyes, then my phenotype is going to be brown eyes. The next one, big B, little b. Are they still the same? No, they're not. They're different. What did that word for different mean again? It's not homozygous, but it is heterozygous. Now, what color would I be? I've got a big B and a little b. Would I be brown eyes or would I be blue? I have one of each. Oh, but remember, brown eyes is dominant, so even though I have one of each, I'm going to be brown eyes. Let's look at this one. I have two little b's. Now, they're the same, so don't call me heterozygous. Two little b's is going to be homozygous, and the reason we need to say recessive is I need to know, am I homozygous dominant, meaning two capital, or am I homozygous recessive, meaning two lowercase, which is why we had to put the word recessive. Now the question is, I have one allele saying blue eyes, I have another allele saying blue eyes. What's my color? Blue eyes. So that's how we do it. You have all of the vocabulary you need now to be able to do these Punnett square practice problems, but we need to do a couple together under our belt so you can do it on your own in a couple days and do the lab facing the genetic facts and get paired up with another student to make a baby. Woo!